Well, I think what I'm most thankful for is the the process that coach training and coaching in general. I'm just really happy at how it like bakes people. You know what I mean? It's just like it there's a certain element of like when you listen that long, this empathetically to other people, there's a certain magic that happens in your listening and in your life. And I just feel really proud of that.
Did you plan this? Because that's exactly what I've got written down.
No, I mean it's just been on my head. I mean, I've been I've been in pressure cooker since Thursday, 3 o'clock. And my accountant, who you have to do 2019 taxes, right? He's out of town. He's in the Sawtooth Mountains with limited cell service. He doesn't get back till tomorrow.
Oh,
So I
wow.
had to do all of this, drop of a hat, everything. And yeah, I feel like if this goes through, I'm the hero. Like I just mic drop. What's up? Like what's up, world? Like get ready because it's about to get real. Because I feel really passionate about, and it actually just been yesterday was horrible because I was just in this waiting game.
Hmm.
Today I felt so, what's the word? I just felt like it's game on. Like the work that we're doing matters so much that we need to, we need to get like we just need to get there. Like we need to uh, make sure that people have empathetic training and education in all these different realms because the world needs this empathy now more than ever. Like, whew, we're in it. We're in it.
Which leads us very nicely to essential coach qualities number two, empathetic.
Yes. Yes. And pathos too, right? It means feelings, and it's not necessarily happy or sad feelings, just feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I like feelings. Like that's what makes human beings human, right? So here we are.
I have a
So
question for you on
yeah,
feelings.
yes,
Something just came to me. I often have this conversation in overviews. Lots of people ask me that can be afraid of dealing with feelings and emotions in a coaching session.
right. I can see why, because there are times when I've been in coaching sessions where I feel like my ability to hold this space is stretched. Like it's sort of like this tap out. Like okay, I'm done. Just I can't hold space anymore. Help! I feel that. I've been there. Uh, it's I think sometimes. Well, just and to take one more step back from that, in my coach training, I feel fortunate because um, it wasn't. Well, it was actually in coach training. It was in my NLP training, where the Linda Go Campbell, who I trained with, she was in Southern Oregon. Now she's in Seattle. She really emphasized that you want the feelings to happen and you don't necessarily want to give them a tissue or you don't want to fix it. You don't want to make it better. You want to just let the feeling just be. And it created this, I don't know what the word is, maybe sense, or created this space where you almost crave intense feeling as a coach. Because you're on the right path, and when it's there, I think you don't have to do anything to it. You just let it be. And I think the fear comes from a coach feeling like, oh, I have to do something with this feeling, or I have to fix this feeling, or I have to make it better, or that means I'm doing coaching wrong if there's intense feelings. It's like, no, you're doing coaching right if there are intense feelings.
New
So
coaches are normally afraid of, is this still in the coaching realm? Is this
right.
therapy? Is this counseling? What tips would you give them?
Guidelines, if someone can still talk, if they're crying and they can still talk, you can still coach. If they're crying and it's just over the top crying and they're just crying, they're sobbing and they can't continue, then you have to pause and stop and, you know, not ask questions about the topic, but just ask questions. Are they okay? Can they continue? What do they need? You have to go in caretaker mode, which is not a bad thing. It's just, you're no longer coaching. And that's okay. It's totally fine. Um, I think the other reason why I seek out emotion, and I think it makes you a better coach too. If there are boundaries where you know as a coach, oh, I know I'm out of my depth when I go to this area, that's problematic, because subconsciously or consciously as a coach, you will not ask certain questions that you know need to be asked because you're afraid to go to those places. You don't want that. You want 100% confidence. I can go anywhere my client needs or wants to go at any time because I know how to handle it. When you go with that confidence, then the client can feel that, and they can feel that the container is safe. And then that sets a foundation where it makes it way easier for that. When that foundation is set, it makes it about 3 times easier to coach than if the client feels like they might not be 100% safe if they go with intense emotion.
So is that about the 3 coaching mindsets, and you as a coach not bringing in your own lens or world map or assumptions? What is that about?
It's about having, I think, I mean, from a very level 1 standpoint, it's about, as a coach, knowing, okay, if there's a lot of emotion, here are the tools that I can use. And knowing that these are the tools I can use gives you confidence. So if it comes up, you're like, oh, goody, I get to use some tools. My number 1 favorite tool with emotion is personifying it. I love personifying emotion and asking, I'm not even like in this recording, like what's the message of the tears? What's if the emotion were to walk into the room, what would that emotion say? Like inside out, like what is the, where's this emotion coming from? If this emotion were talking to your future self, what's the conversation that they would have? What would be your future self's, like, what would be your future self's message to this emotion? And what does this emotion need from your future self? Like it's once you're in that space with emotion like that, even just being able to talk about it, like even with this thing, you know, we're going through it with the house, being able to talk about it out loud, I could feel my emotions shift. And I forget where the saying comes from, like, but a burden shared is a burden halved. Is that,
Yeah.
do you know where that comes from? I don't know.
Don't know where it comes from. No.
Right. I'm thinking, like, is that a Roman thing? Is that a Roman thing? Is that, I know Satish from Ahmedabad, he said it to me. And I was like, is that an Ahmedabad thing? I don't know. But there's a lot, yeah, I feel it. And I felt it a lot. Like the support of people really helps. And I think what it is this empathy. It's so, when you know someone sees you and sees where you are and cares about you, it's almost like you've now collectively shared the hard part. You know? But yeah, to me, I mean, empathy is central. It's not just a, I don't know what to say this. It's not a passive empathy. It's not sympathy. Sympathy is I'm feeling the same thing you're feeling. And I think that's what people are afraid of. They're like, if I see someone feeling sad and I also need to feel sad too, that's not good. Like that's where you get sort of tied up. And I think that's what people fear. Empathy is being able to accurately describe and know what the other the emotion that someone else is feeling, and to see the world from their perspective.
And on that, and the other question I get from new coaches is, how do I demonstrate empathy without colluding and at the same time not seeming as though I'm a robot? So how can I create that warm presence and space?
Well, sometimes the empathetic thing is not to be warm and fuzzy, but the empathetic thing is to be hard and ask a really prickly question. Like, why are you stuck in this, like, you know, excuse making? Like, let me ask a question that just zaps you out of it. Like, so empathy is not this passive, like warm and fuzzy. And it's fascinating. Like, kindness does not equal weakness. So much of our society says, if you are kind, you are weak. That is simply not true. And kindness does not equal like being unintelligent. That's also not true. And so often there's this collapsing that puts, you know, kindness away from intelligence, kindness away from, you know, collusion. I don't know, like warm and fuzzy. Like warm and fuzzy equals mushy.
I was
There
talking
is,
to
yeah.
morning about leadership styles and this masculine versus feminine. What does that look like in leadership? And this particular person, their expectation. In order to get things done, I must be more aggressive in my approach.
Right. I think there's I don't know. Maybe some people, I mean, that's the cool thing about this is it's not always the same answer for everybody, which is fun. Because I think some people, yeah, being more aggressive is useful, but other people being more aggressive is the worst thing ever. It just depends on where they're at. But kindness, I think it's really hard to be too kind. It's possible, but I think it's hard if you combine it with like, you know, a level of like ferocity. And I think it's almost like kind ferocity is what's required as a coach. My favorite coaching style was Laura Whitworth. She was one of the founders of, one of the people who was instrumental in creating the ICF. She's the kind of person who would like pet a cat backwards, like start the tail, go to the head kind of thing. But some of the stuff that she said it just echoed with insight. And I mean, I still get chills thinking about, she was able to cut through so much limiting belief, so much unuseful assumption, and just get right to the heart of it. The only other person I've seen do that so quickly was Marshall Goldsmith. He's another one. It just right to it, and it's uncanny. And I think that's what happens. Like as you get more experience as a coach, and you are in a space where you're listening to someone, if you're trained to listen empathetically, things just pop in your head and you can't unsee them. I was talking to someone who she is recently going through a divorce, and I just listening to her, and I heard an energy and strength and this foundation in her I've never heard before. And it's relatively new. It's like a week, it's, you know, less than a week, but to hear that, I can't unhear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before we listen to the recording then, how do you as a coach, I know there's experience and intuition, and the more you listen and look out for those things, I call it the spidey sense. And as a new coach, or, you know, I hear coaches say, well, I'm not catching the deeper agenda, or I don't know. I thought I was great at listening, but maybe I'm not that good at listening. I'm not hearing what else is going on.
That's probably true. Like, I know it was true for me. It took a while. I was slow on the uptake. You know, it took a while for me to get there with my listening. And I think for me, it's a matter of, I think two things happen. One, it's a matter of what you have to let go of, and then what you have to attune yourself to. And the thing that I had to let go of was trying to prove how clever I was or how valuable coaching was. And I tried to do that by trying to solve the problem or somehow come up with this elaborate thing that if we solve this, would it make this session worth it to you and make, you know, the money that you're paying me seem like a good investment? And if we come up with the perfect answer to this decision, would the world change? Oh, you just gotta let all that go. Let all of it go. Because it gets in the way. And if a new coach is holding on to that, if a new coach needs to know, if a new coach needs to understand the worth of coaching, go and get an amazing coach and get coached and feel what it feels like from the client side. And after you do that enough times, and this is why, really, truly, this is one of the reasons why the 1.0 and the 2.0 are designed with so much one-on-one client interaction, because most people who take coach training have never been coached before. But when you are coached and you realize, wow, all that I really need as a client is someone to really pay attention to me, not fix it, but give me space. Magic happens. And that's all. So that's what you have to do. Like, let go of all of that. Stop proving the worth of coaching or how clever you are. It's at the door. Just leave it there. Second thing, and this is more active, I will consciously voice mirror when I'm listening to someone. Like, I will say the same words at the same time in my head quite often just to get attuned to them. Empathy, active listening, it is an act of imagination. I actively imagine I am them. I am you. When I'm listening to you, in my mind, every ounce of energy I have goes into listening to you. And that's where the effort goes into. From there, it's effortless. All of the other, all of the other human mechanisms, I don't know what they are, but all the other human stuff comes along for the ride and gives me information. And that's what I used to ask the question. And it took me so long to figure that out. But yeah, that's how I do it. That's what I think new coaches need to learn how to do, is release all of their own stuff and just actively imagine that you are the other person.
So they need to quieten their own inner critic, or that voice that's saying, this is the question you should ask next.
Right.
And step into the shoes of the coachee.
It's like this. It's like this. Sorry, Raj. Yeah, it's like, I have the example, right? Woo! So we're in it. We're waiting for an answer on a big life, when Amois and I, when we were just early 20s, I had some job interviews lined up. This is right after college. I had some job interviews lined up to teach Latin in Southern California. And we're like a little, turtle with our car and U-Haul, all of our belongings, like a little turtle coming from the East Coast, Providence, Rhode Island, California. And she had just taken coach training. I had not been coach trained yet, but I have had coaching sessions by being a guinea pig in her coach trainings. And so just like new coaches, we were in the puppy dog stage. We got into it. We made a list of our values and being around family, and that was at the top. So we said, well, why don't we just live our life according to our values and see what happens? So I called up all those job interviews and canceled all of them in Southern California. And we moved to Southern Oregon, where her family was from. And we thought, you know what? We'll just work in coffee shops for a year, figure it out. Woohoo, right? We're in our early 20s. It doesn't matter. And I literally remember turning the steering wheel, going over the Mississippi, like going to the right, like feeling that feeling of, oh, there's California and there's Oregon, and go that turning point in life. We're in that right now. Like, we're waiting for an answer right now. Amois and all of her lovely, amazing beauty and wisdom has been telling me, take a deep breath right now, right here. Do you have enough? Are you okay? Did you feel it? Like, take a deep breath. Like, are you enough and are you okay? Right here, right now.
I feel it.
All of that mental chatter of anything all of it, right here, right now. That's what happens when you listen empathetically. It's the same kind of process, because right now, you as a person, you have to be okay. You have to be okay in order to listen empathetically like that. And when I was starting this business, doing this whole thing where we were living month to month. I mean, I taught high school, we had no money. Like, we were on month to month for 2 years. Then I remember those client sessions, they felt like an island of peace in a sea of uncertainty. And when I was coaching, it just felt like, wow, I can not be me for an hour at a time and deliver value. That's what kept me going.
That's really powerful. And I'm just thinking about what you're saying. One of the tips I do give to coaches as well is give yourself a bit of space, 5-10 minutes before you go into coaching session. Be intentional, take those deep breaths, get grounded. Just for yourself, release and let go of anything that you're carrying and just go into that session with intention.
It feels spacious and powerful. I mean, just like power. And that's what I think so many people carry so much, so many assumptions, so many ideas, thoughts, everything. It just gets heavy. And everyone's used to it, so we don't notice it. Here we are. And I really want the answer I want too. So it's all there. There it is. We'll find out soon.
Are you okay?
I am good. I'm just really thankful today, because Sunday we just took the whole day off. Nothing. Whole day off. That was actually harder than today, where I had a bunch of things, a lot of meetings, a lot of talking to people. It was lovely to be able to devote myself 100% to meaningful work. Really lovely. And I'm feeling on top of the world right now. I really am. Like, the work that we're doing, this empathy work, basically training people to be professional listeners with empathy, is the work that's going to help humanity. So here we are. Let's do it. Ready for a recording? Yeah. I want to listen to, let's listen to Jerry. I think that was one that we listened to, the time model. I know he says a couple bad words, which in our courses I don't recommend. But when clients are clients, they're going to use whatever language they want. And as a coach, I mean, if you want to design lines for people not to swear, that's fine. I find it best just to let them express themselves however they want, but we'll bleep it out in the recording.
Okay. And I always say to people, that's not something you would submit to the ICF.
That'd be interesting. I don't know if I would submit, potty mouth session to the ICF or not, but it depends. If it's like one or two, I think it's fine, but.
I have some clients that swear a lot, some exec clients in my sessions.
Executives tend to do more. It's like the worst pirate mouth I've ever heard was someone who was executive, a former executive at Microsoft, and she was unbelievable. Like, wow.
Yeah, I do mirror it back with my clients sometimes. We have it in the Design the Alliance. So, and then it can shock and shift when they're hearing it, me saying it back in a question. It can be quite powerful.
I'm clean. I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I was trained I am a high school Latin teacher. You're gonna.
Well, we're Brits. We have many colourful, swear words. You would be shocked in our household. Not that I'm using it all the time, but my husband.
It reminds me, like, when I did a semester in Rome and was learning Italian, and one of my Italian teachers was messing with me, like, things to say, and I said it to this other person, and she was offended, like deeply, 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 deeply offended, and it was like the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my life. And if I needed further, at that point, it's like, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm not doing it.
I ask now in the Design the Alliance, actually. I say, about language and what are your no-nos. We even talk about faith and religion and spirituality. And I learned the hard way with a class that I did for our community. It was a sound healing. And, I'm okay talking about angels and angel numbers and energy and manifestation, depending on what audience it is. And there was somebody who was very religious in that, it was a direct conflict with their faith. Mm-hmm. So I just have an open conversation about where somebody's at and their beliefs and what might be a no-no, just that connection point.
I think those are powerful conversations to have, and different coaches have different boundaries and different things that they want to do. And I think those Design Alliance things are crucial to. Again, it's empathy. That's not necessarily, you want to get rid of the assumptions. One more thing I want to say about empathetic listening in this whole thing is it's unbelievable how powerful your memory will be when you're listening empathetically. Like, I still remember client sessions that I've had over a decade ago, because I think what happened, there's something in the filter of listening that when you're listening so actively, it just hits the memory differently. I don't know how or why, but it's true. And I think both, and also too, when you're being coached, I remember insights I got as a client decades ago that still happen. You can trust that, totally trust that. And that's why I feel like when coaches really learn to trust the process of coaching, they don't spend mental, emotional energy wondering if they're a good coach. They just put all of that mental, emotional energy in trying to actively imagine they are the other person. That's to me is the tipping point. And if coaches can get there quickly, this is, I think, one of the strengths of this training, because it's emphasized so much, this active listening, this empathetic listening, that I hear really good coaching even halfway through the program, from coaches who get on board and move this strongly in that way. So yeah, I just want to say that.
It's amazing how that happens. I find that happens to me in overviews. I listen to somebody for the first overview, I haven't heard them for months. I can recognize the voice of the person that they're coaching. And I'll say, okay, so this is the person we use in overview 1. Like, how do you know that?
That's awesome. I love it. I haven't experienced that in overviews as much, but yeah, it's so awesome. All right, let's do it.
Jerry, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. How you doing?
Good. It's been a busy day, but productive. Feeling like there's a fighting chance that things will work out, so that's good.
That is good.
What would you like to look at today?
How about just pushing past the barriers and getting work done?
Nice.
The
And
procrastination.
what are you pushing? Like, what are you pushing?
I'm fighting procrastination. I'll get to it, and then like, crap, week went by.
So, what's the thing at play? Is it more the project planning, systems, habits, external, or more internal perspectives, motivation?
1000% internal motivation.
Nice.
Mindset.
Let's say we get the perfect mindset that fits you perfectly. What changes in your life?
Everything. My life is not even closely related to each other in that manner.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's just night and day. A change in mindset is a complete change in life. It's the one flip of the switch that's missing in Jerry Frawley's life.
But it seems like you know what mindset you need to shift into.
Oh, of course, yeah. I've researched this my whole life. I know exactly what it looks like. It's just getting my brain to go there is the missing piece.
So how will we know that we're successful in this coaching session?
I will feel like I have more of a growth mindset and less of a fixed mindset.
How would we measure that?
It's a tough thing to measure because it's kind of an internal thought, internal feeling. I guess it would be more of a sense of well-being, a sense of more of acknowledgement that more of myself is present. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How does mindset relate to action steps?
Whatever.
My fixed mindset makes the action steps, makes them all the time. I make steps like nobody's business. It's growth mindset that I don't have. That's not actually completing these steps.
Huh. Yeah. So why do growth mindset? It seems like a fixed mindset's working. Why?
Well, the fixed mindset's keeping me fixed in, where I'm at. It's not elevating me. It's not, it's not taking me to the places I want to go. It's keeping me where I'm at, working the job I don't like and, in the environment that I don't want to be in. It's doing a great job. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, but it's not what I want.
So it's taking action steps that you haven't taken before.
Correct. And I feel like I have to be a different person to take those action steps sometimes. It's like the person I'm in now is the person that I've created the results that I'm living in. And if I keep living like this is the results I'm always going to have. So it feels like I need to make that switch so I could become that person who achieves those goals.
Nice. So out of this session, if you have increased clarity on who that version of Jerry is,
That'd be excellent.
and perhaps 3 action steps to align by next week. That would do it.
That would do it.
All right. Let's go.
Let's do it.
In that establishing a session agenda, what's the most interesting aspect to you?
Is this the knowledge that at the end of this I'll have 3 steps to at least that'll take me in the right direction of where I'm headed.
Let's do it. So where's the direction?
Forward, for crying out loud, forward.
For what?
Forward, in the forward direction.
Forward direction, not backward.
Not here, not backwards, forward.
How do you know you're there? Like what's the milestone that will let you know that you have reached forward?
I won't recognize it because it won't be anything I've ever experienced. It'll be completing a goal instead of just dreaming about a goal. I don't know why I'm getting so loud, sorry.
How often do you shift into this mode, and what do you want to call this mode that you're shifting?
I like the growth mode or the forward moving mode. I'm not there often. I'm there in my head talking about it. And, during sessions like this, I'm kind of in the middle of it, but overall, when I get home from work and stuff like that, it's gone. That motivation, all that passion and everything, it's drained out of me.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What drains it? What's the?
That's me going hard empathy right now.
That's an easy question. That's 40 to 50 hours of pretending to be someone else. It's very exhausting.
What strength does it take to keep your dream alive?
Just the absolute strength of perseverance, the never, ever, ever give up, which is how I live, even though sometimes it's hard.
How does that apply to this new dream, this new forward motion?
I mean, I think it always applies, it's because I'm going to reach failures just like any other time. And, the fact that I have that never quit attitude is always going to get me through these things.
How does this apply to that? Or let's name him. Who's that Jerry you want to become?
I mean, he's just a more confident, self-assured version of who I am now. I have lots of great qualities that are great for what I'm looking to do. It's just that little stuff in the end that just push me over the edge and know that I'm confident in who I am to express the things that I know I can.
What's his name? Or what nickname can we craft for him?
I've always been a big fan of the name Jack. It's always been something I've always dreamed of being called. I've always I always try to get my girlfriends to call me that, and they never would. So Jack is always the name that comes out.
Can we call it Jack Jerry?
Sure, Jack Jerry, I like it. JJ.
JJ, right? So step into JJ. What changes? What shifts?
Just loses that need for acceptance and that need to please other people, and it just steps into just being me. This is who I am. You like me, awesome. If you don't, that's fine too. Or that's not, my existence now. I worry too much about what other people think, especially people that don't matter.
Yeah, I felt that shift. That was that. What edge does that shift help you push over?
I think it just helps me stop, as I said, stop worrying about everyone else and just start focusing on what I'm trying to do, because what I'm trying to do is not a selfish thing. I'm becoming a better person so I can help other people. So I have to get over the fact that helping myself is not a selfish thing, because part of me always wants to help other people and ignore myself at my own peril.
Yeah. So what's the metaphor? What's JJ? What's if JJ were to step into a metaphor for the rest of this year, what's the metaphor?
You're a big fan of these metaphors. It's tougher for people to think like like you do. I think I'll go back to my original metaphor of pushing the rock up the mountain and having it fall back down. The difference would be that I would just throw that rock right over the fucking mountain and keep moving myself. So it's just like that rock's not coming back down.
Tell Sisyphus, like, hey bud, I got you, man. If you're doing this for eternity now, no more rock. So the rock goes over the hill, then what?
Then I just, then it's all downhill from there. I did the hard work, and now I can reap the benefits and just be myself. It's a lot easier on the way down.
Nice. So what's the due date? What's the due date for the rock over the hill?
Due date. I mean, in my head, I'd like to say, how's today? That's where I'd like to say, but the dude in the back of my head says that day's never going to come. So it's hard for me to. What's in the middle of that?
What does JJ say about that comment?
He says, "Dude, what are you doing?"
Yeah, come on, get over it. It's Jai. Get over it. You've grown beyond. I see you, Jerry. You've grown beyond your capacity for growth, changing the lives of other people. It's grown beyond the limiting belief of you're not going to get there.
Yeah.
Where do you find your courage?
Jeez, that's a deep question, dude. I don't know. Somewhere deep within, there's a stronger version of myself that creeps out from time to time, and sometimes I have to dig deep to find them. But the courageous person got me through the childhood that I went through, so I know I'm strong, and somewhere deep down, someone strong is there.
From this perspective, what are the action steps? this next week?
For starters, I need to start taking, I talked about this with Raj too. I need to start taking care of myself. I think the more I neglect my health and my fitness and everything, the less I care about myself, and so, I've been very absent to the gym and eating well for the last couple months, and that's something that needs to change this week. I already have a membership, just got to show up. So just simply going is step one,
Yep. Step two.
I think I might need more of a push to come up with more steps.
What about getting your first coaching client? First paying coaching client?
Yeah, it's an excellent step. That's something that I'm having a little trouble reaching out and doing. So it's a good step. It's a challenging step for me. So it's a good step.
How many people do you want to reach out to?
I mean, honestly, I'd like to get the ball rolling kind of quickly. I don't want to just one or two. I'd like to reach out to like 10 people.
10 people. Excellent. And what's the third step? It's 10 people.
One thing that I've thought of a couple times is there's Toastmasters class that's available while I'm at work, and I always thought that would help me be a little bit more confident just talking in general, and that way in the future when I want to do seminars or whatever, I'll already have that background. It's every other Wednesday. I can go anytime. I just always not go. So I think actually going to that and getting that confidence of speaking would help a lot.
How does JJ relate to these?
I mean, he's killing it at all these things. I mean, he's already jacked. So, getting 10 people is something he could do in 5 minutes. I mean, and Toastmasters, I mean, talking in front of people, that's his thing. So he's feeling pretty confident. He thinks he could do this in a couple of minutes.
You get to find out. You get to find out in this next week.
Yes, I do.
How do we do? How do we do, Jerry?
I always volunteer. I don't know why more people don't want to be coached by you. It's incredible. So as always, very enjoyable. I appreciate the help.
All right, we'll follow up next week. See how you do. 10 people, gym, Toastmasters.
Got it. Thank you.
You're so warm, John, in your approach. Even when you are challenging, even when you're using direct communication, I could see what you meant by empathy because you were exhibiting it beautifully.
It was oddly emotional for me to listen to that. And I think I know why. I mean, I know what I was feeling. I know what he was feeling when I was going through there. And it feels like I was thinking, this is an amazing conversation between two human beings. And I could feel his pain. It's just there. It's just right there. But it's not therapy. That's what's interesting about this. It's not like we have to go in and fix that Jerry, that childhood Jerry who had that childhood and somehow it relates to procrastination. That's not it. It's how does Jerry get to lean more into that aspect of himself that's JJ? The one thing that going back to that session, and I know him. So this is where I feel like a lot of it is not, I mean, if it were to be the perfect session, I would not have given him the suggestion of go get that coaching client.
Mhm.
But I know him, and I know that's been the thing the last couple of weeks. That was always the sticky point. The thing that brought it back was, okay, what does JJ have to say about that? That brings it back to the being. That brings it back to the thing. Listening to it, I think I was crunched on time, so I knew it was that it's part of the deal. But I think listening to it again, I mean, it's always hard to go back and listen to something. Go, what would I have said differently? I mean, you're in the coaching seat. It's a different kind of experience than when you're listening to it again. More opportunities come up. I would have liked a question in there, like, so when you're asking, when you think about the coaching client, what's coming up? Why not do it now? Like, what if after 10 minutes after we hang up, you do that step right now? What comes up? And that's where I feel like it's okay to ask a question like, what about that step? If it's followed up with curiosity, like if it's followed up with, when you take that step, what are you most curious about yourself? What do you hope to learn about yourself when you take that step? Even just thinking about that step right now, what comes up for you? Like, it just feels like there's so much I could go with that. That would be the only improvement I think I can make on that session.
What was so powerful is how deep you were able to go in such a short space of time, then bring it back to action, which is what he was saying at the beginning, that
Right.
you made that connection back. And I think that's very powerful to share with coaches, because I hear a lot, I can't get there in 30 minutes, it's just not enough time.
That's funny, because to me it doesn't feel that deep. I'm like, that's medium level. Like, we got medium level coaching. Ugh. I truly think that when you're in that empathetic space, it doesn't take much to go very deep very quickly. And what helps, and even in the sense like going deep, it's a geographic metaphor. So use geography. Going up the mountain, down the mountain. Like, I liked your question. Why the mountain? What's the mountain made of? How heavy's the stone? Where's the stone now?
And I was curious about some of the limiting beliefs that are there as well. I mean, you were helping him create that identity and association with JJ.
Right.
Yet, I mean, he said, I'm going to reach failure like any other time.
Right.
Hmm.
The one thing I would go now, and this is always the question as a coach, is how much do you keep the session on topic like this? And I feel like this one, I kept it more on topic versus how do I get to a deeper topic? And the deeper topic here, I would think, is the heavy pressure, heavy judgment he's placing on himself. That's where I was listening to this feeling, like my emotion come from. He is placing so much pressure on himself to be someone else.
Yeah.
Where is that coming from? Yeah.
It was, yeah, we help our clients, coaches to, create an identity, yet it's almost as though he can't see that identity merging with him. It's so outside of him, outside of reach.
Right. And I know he wants it. And the thing that got me, and just listening to it again, the thing that got me the most was when he said, I spend so many hours at work and I come home and I'm just exhausted. I have nothing left for my own things. And I have to be someone else for that length of time. And I come home utterly exhausted. I was there with him. I was in that spot with him.
And the judgment,
Yeah.
even a few of the flyaway comments to you, all right for you to, it's easy for you to go deep, or it's easy for you to ask that question, as though it would not ever be easy for him. I was curious about what might seem throwaway comments, what is behind all of that,
Yeah.
and the connection.
Yeah, I think there's some of that in this where I think, you know, if we're going to really dissect it and get deeper on like our analysis of this, yeah, there's an element of playfulness in my coaching that I'm willing to jump to, almost like whenever, you know, throw me a little bit of something to you know, to make it fun, and I'll run with that. I was thinking, how does it serve him? And I think what it does is it makes the space feel fuzzy, warm and fuzzy. It's like, oh, we can have fun here too, and humor is a part of it. And I was just looking at some of this research about laughter and humor and the effects on the nervous system. I mean, it's unbelievable what happens to the nervous system when people laugh. Like even gallows humor. I mean, I'm going to be very clear about humor too. There's, you know, unkind humor, and then there's kind, you know, unkind humor. No, bad, not useful. Kind humor, yes, useful. That's, it's on purpose because it's useful. And I think it puts that safety in the space, and the juxtaposition of that with let's go deep. I think what I'm trying to do is create an environment where you're not quite sure which direction we might go in yet. So it's like this alternate, like the orientation gets, you know, wonky, and then whoa, there's the question. Boom, we're in it. That's the method behind the madness of what this direction is within a safe container. That's what I'm trying to accomplish with Jerry here. That's my style. Yeah.
And that connects back to that empathy piece that you were saying as well, and how you show up as a coach. And another question I get asked in overviews is, well, I'm just worried I'm coming across robotic. How do I be me? And we talk about humor and bringing that in. And I say, you know, clients cry all the time in my sessions. We laugh a lot in my sessions. Well, how do you still keep it professional is the questions I hear.
As if laughter is unprofessional. As if kindness is unprofessional.
I had that very conversation this week. So any final tips for coaches in terms of what we've been talking about, empathy and listening?
You can trust empathy. I think that's the final one, is trust it. But don't get too close to it either. I think something that I will do is trying to get beyond like something being either good or bad, and asking what's useful, not useful. So getting in there, it's okay, what's in part of the question asking process, it's what's useful about not working out? What's useful about eating terrible for 2 months? What's the use of that? Like, I feel like that helps unhook from judgment. And I know judgment will shut down curiosity very quickly. Mm-hmm. So sometimes in my own head, when I'm taking that long pause and I'm thinking, okay, useful, not useful, it helps me avoid the pitfalls of making assumptions that I don't necessarily want to make. I think that's helpful for coaches to know. Like, what's useful about feeling bad and crying? It feels healing. It's lovely. Sometimes a good cry is one of the most underrated experiences in the human experience.